Welcome to Safe Money Retirement Radio with your host, Tim Wood. Tim is a certified financial fiduciary and a no-market risk retirement and income specialist, and the owner of SafeMoneyRetirement.com, primarily serving Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, and Southwest Virginia. But he's sought after nationally for his expertise in helping people secure their retirements. Mr. Wood is a licensed life insurance professional in multiple states and specializes in working with people who are near retirement and those who have already retired with wealth management, income planning, and asset protection strategies. And now, here to talk with you about no market risk retirement planning, your host, Tim Wood.
Welcome to Safe Money Retirement Radio. I'm Tim Wood, an asset and retirement protection specialist. As most of you know, I released my book, Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success, back in 2022. And I'm thrilled to have journalist and podcast pioneer Doug Sandler with Turnkey Podcast Productions with me today to discuss Part 2 of Chapter 7, Safe Money Part 2, Somewhat Safe, Mostly Sorry. Savings, CDs, and coffee cans.
You talked about money having value, and you say that money doesn't grow at a rate higher than inflation loses value. Can you explain to the listeners what that means? Because I think it'll really tie in what you said preceding the book. It'll tie that in pretty nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you've got, let's just say you've got $100,000 sitting in an account, and even if that account is making 2%, let's say you're in a really good savings account and it's making 2%, or you're even in a decent CD making 4%. If you're only making 4% on that 100,000, let's just go best case scenario, you're making 4% in a CD. Great. At the end of the year, you're going to have $104,000. But inflation right now is at 7%. So you've gained 4% to step back 7%. So you're actually 3% in the hole. That's what I mean by that. That's what I mean by saying any money that's not making more money than inflation every single year is losing value. And the value of money is really what you've got to look at when we come up with a purpose for your money. What's the value of that money? What's it going to do? And what's going to be its purpose? And all of inflation is a really big thing that has to factor in, especially now. Like I said, hopefully the Fed has gotten a handle on it, but depends on who you listen to. Some people say that they have, and some people say we're nowhere close to the top of the inflation ladder right now. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there.
Well, as of the recording of this, they still don't have a handle. They still don't have a handle on it.
They still
right
do not.
Now. So if you're in 2023, we're still struggling with the idea of what's going on. And I know we're going to talk about this a lot more in Chapter 8, Parts 1 and 2 that we're going to do for our listeners too. But is there a way to just give me a teaser here? Is there a way to combat the idea of not having it sit in a 2% savings account or a 4% CD?
Absolutely. There are accounts out there that pay a lot more than that. There are other accounts out there that can pay you based on what happens in the market or based on a fixed rate. You can choose back and you can go back and forth every single year. So yes, there are ways and there are accounts that you can get into that are going to allow you to overcome inflation. You just got to make sure you're in the right accounts.
All right. Good teaser for the upcoming episodes in chapter 8, Parts 1 and 2. Make sure you listen to those too. Before we move on and end this episode, I want you to talk to the listeners for a moment. The ones that have the philosophy that, well, I'll just live off the interest in retirement because I have a good lump sum sitting in the bank right now or in an account right now. Why is that not a good plan for most people?
Well, for most people, because they don't have enough, to be honest with you. I mean, if someone came to me and had $5 or $10 million and wanted to live off the interest, absolutely. Unless you've got super, super, super huge expenses, we can make that work. But most people don't have $5 to $10 million. Most people, I would say the average client that I have has probably between $300,000 and $400,000 saved. Now, of course, some have more, some have a lot less. So when you're not talking about, $5 million, let's say best case scenario, let's say you've got $1 million saved. Okay. That's fantastic. And you're going to live off the interest. Well, if you're making 2%, that's $20,000 a year. Where are you going to live for $20,000 a year? Please tell me, because I want to move there.
Not many places.
Many places.
Not here in the United States.
Right. Well, and then the challenge that compounds on top of that, not to go too deep, I know we're running out of time, but the challenge that compounds on top of that is then what happens if a grandkid needs some help? Well, that's
Yeah.
what the $1 million are for, they'll say.
Right.
Well, that's great. Say you take 100,000 out of that million to help a couple grandkids. Well, now you're down to 900,000 and you're only making 2% on that. Well, that's only $18,000 a year. And by the way, that 18 and 20,000 that you just made in interest, you owe taxes on that too. So you didn't make 18 or 20,000. So unless you have got a huge sum of money, living off the interest really isn't in your best interest.
All right, let's talk before we wrap up this chapter. I know we're short on time, but how does one guarantee to outpace inflation and keep it, here's the key, keep it risk-free, Tim?
I would say those accounts that give you guaranteed growth. That's what I deal with. I deal with guarantees in my company. I don't deal with just outright market risk. Everything that I'm talking about are guarantees. You're guaranteed not to lose this, or you're guaranteed to make this percentage. There's guarantees. That's the difference. That's how you outpace inflation, is you're in something that's going to give you a guaranteed return that's going to make sure you're offsetting inflation as you move through retirement.
Fascinating subjects, much more to come. Next two chapters or next two episodes in chapter 8, parts 1 and 2 will be fascinating for you guys to listen to as well. I'm enjoying it just hosting the show, and I know Tim enjoys talking about it as much as he knows. His knowledge, his wisdom is amazing. I want to thank him for being here. Thanks, Tim, for sharing and your expertise in discussing the book. Really appreciate you sharing your expertise with our audience.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate you being here.
Stay tuned for Safe Money Retirement Radio and more interviews about other chapters in Tim's book. And make sure you head over to safemoneyretirement.com or call 844-905-SAFE right now to get your own free copy of Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success.
Are you ready to step away from all of the risks and have your own safe money retirement? A copy of my book can help be a roadmap to get you there. Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success was written to help educate soon-to-be retirees or current retirees about what their options really are in retirement. Options for gains with no losses, options for income that you cannot outlive or your spouse can't outlive. You need to know what your options really are and how you can work with a certified financial fiduciary to make sure that you are in the best option. And my book can help. I will give you a copy absolutely free. Just give us a call, 844-905-SAFE. That's 844-905-7233. Or just log right onto our website at safemoneyretirement.com and register for your free book right now. Well, I'm about out of time, and I would like to thank you for listening to Safe Money Retirement Radio. If you're serious about your financial future, give me a call, and together we'll get your retirement savings on the fast track to accumulate while reducing exposure to market risk. Thanks for listening, and until next time at the same time, I'm Tim Wood, reminding you to stay safe so you can step into a secure future.
You've been listening to Safe Money Retirement Radio with your host, Tim Wood. Find out how to guarantee that your hard-earned money is safe with locked-in returns that will never go down due to market risk, so you can have the future that you deserve. Call Tim Wood now for your free copy of his #1 best-selling book, Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success, along with the free Safe Money Retirement Information Kit at 844-905-SAFE. That's 844-905-7233. Or visit him online for more details at safemoneyretirement.com. Did you know that your Social Security could be much higher depending on what option you choose for claiming your benefit? Social Security income is not as simple as some think. When should you take it? Should you only take your spouse's benefit while you continue to work? Deciding how to receive your Social Security benefit can make your head spin. Don't decide about your retirement without the facts. Call us now and ask for your complimentary Social Security guide at 844-905-SAFE. That's 844-905-7233. The preceding information does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. Surrender charges apply to base contracts. Optional lifetime income benefit riders are used to calculate lifetime payments only and are not available for cash surrender or in a death benefit unless specified in the annuity contract. Fees may apply. Guarantees are based on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the insurance company. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified and licensed professional. Obviously, by calling us now, you are just taking the first step towards protecting your retirement. It's important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Rates and returns mentioned on this program are subject to change without notice.